In this video, we are going to talk about where to start our research. We all have asked, or we've been asked this question: where to start our research? How do we start? So, this is a very pertinent question that where one should start. When I was doing my master's and while I was doing my PhD, so I was asking this question to myself: okay, where should I start, or how do I start? What should I do? And the same thing happens. There are students who ask us, where shall we start? In this video, I will try my level best to answer or provide a guideline that would help student find an answer to this question. So, what is basic research? Now, basically, this has been discussed in one of the other videos as well, but a student, a university student, a graduate or postgraduate student, when conducting research, is actually doing basic research. He's looking into extending the bounds of knowledge. He's looking to add something to the literature. He's looking to add or contribute to what is already known or what is already available. But then there is another question. What is this existing body of knowledge? What is this literature? Now, in a very simple or simplest forms, we can say, well, these are the existing publications that are available to the readers. So for now, let's say these are our research articles that are available to us. So what is a research article? A research article reports the results of original research. If you are conducting a research, it has to be original. It assesses its contribution to the body of knowledge in a given area. For instance, if I'm conducting a research in leadership, so an article must have clear identification of what are the contribution of this research in the body of knowledge in this particular area of research, in this case, leadership, and is published in peer-reviewed scholarly journals. Peer-reviewed, they are published, they are reviewed by other people, other research scholars, and then once they are reviewed, changes made, they are published into a journal. In a given academic field will likely have dozens of peer-reviewed journals. For example, HR may have hundreds of journals. Finance will have hundreds of journals. Marketing will have hundreds of journals. Any field will have hundreds and thousands of journals. So what are these journals? An academic or a scholarly journal is a periodical publication in which scholarship relating to a particular academic discipline is published. So in a journal, one publishes research pertinent to a particular field. For example, Leadership Quarterly publishes research related to leadership. Journal of Business Ethics publishes research related to uh, business ethics, corporate social responsibility, corporate citizenship. So the journals have specific area in which they publish, and then they've got specific readership. For instance, I, as a researcher, am more interested in social responsibility and leadership, would only go for journals that publish that sort of scholarly research. So this is what we mean by a research article, and this is what we refer to as a scholarly journal. Now, where are these journals and where are these articles? These articles, or where is existing body of knowledge? Where is this literature? How do I track this? How do I find this? Now, in the channel, you will find searching research databases, one of the videos. You will also find looking for or searching research articles. You can look into those videos as well. Now, these are the databases that one can normally refer to or search to download different articles in the field. So you can search Emerald, Sage, Wiley, Science Direct, Springer, Taylor and Francis, EBSCO, or many others. But these are the ones that are normally used in the field of business and management, or humanities and arts and others. So once you search these databases, you will come up with, or you will find different articles. Try to use latest articles to identify your contribution, to help you identify the gaps and limitations in existing research. For instance, if you download an article that was published maybe 10 years ago, there is highly likely that much work has been done on that particular topic in that particular area. So your research won't be original if you base your work on the work of that was published 10 years ago. Try to find latest research, find out what has been done recently, and then you can obviously try and add to existing body of knowledge, because you know what has been done recently and what is required based on what you study or what you download from these journals or these databases. So the next important thing which we normally forget to do is we download them but we don't record them. It's very important to keep track of what you have read. If you do not keep track of what you have read, you will actually fail in writing. So how do we keep track of what we have downloaded and what we have recorded? So, or what we have read. Now in this particular video, we will only focus on a recording of information, because downloading is in the other videos which you can look into. So how do you record this information that you have downloaded? Put them in a folder. There is another way to record as well. You can use different databases. For instance, you can use Mendeley, but we will do a detailed session on using Mendeley later. But for now, let's use an Excel sheet to record the information as to what we have been reading. This is very important. This is particularly important because it will help you shape your introduction, your literature, your methodology, your analysis, your discussion, your references, and everything. So what to record? There is too much information in a research article. So you record this. You record the title of the paper. You record the objectives of the study. You record the research questions or hypotheses they have proposed. You record the theory that they have used to express or elaborate on the relationship between the variables. You record their independent, dependent, control, mediator, and moderating variables. You record what gaps they have addressed. You record what sample size they have focused on or taken for their study. Who are their respondents? What were their results? And very important, what were the limitations of their study? Because this is how you are going to know what you can add to existing body of knowledge. And then what are the future research directions they have proposed. So you know what or how you can take this research forward. Now, for the sake of this session, I've downloaded a few articles pertinent to servant leadership. Now here are these articles. Let's open them all and let's see how you can record this information, or how can you use these latest articles to draft your own model, your own research. It might take a minute to open them all. I should have done already, but anyways. Okay. Let's see. It's open. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 papers. I hope all of them are open now. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now going back to our papers. Let's see. Okay, let's see. This is one paper, and they have obviously talked about the impact of servant leadership on life satisfaction. Now, how do you record this information? In order to record this information, the first thing that you need to do is you need to go to this. Okay, let's label this number paper as 1. What is the title of the paper? The title of the paper is Examining the Effects of Servant Leadership on Life Satisfaction. So we put this here. Okay, what is the objective, or what are the objectives of the paper? So the paper explored the effects of servant leadership on employees' life satisfaction. In addition, it examined the mediating role of work engagement and organizational based self-esteem in this relationship. Okay, let's copy this information as well, put it in the objective section so you know what has been done. Okay, what are the research questions and hypotheses? Well, if you think that you need to report them, you should report them. Otherwise, you can draw the research questions or hypotheses from the objectives as well. So in order to save time in this video, we're not going to put this, but what we can do is we can easily go down and look into the paper, look into the model. We can copy the model as well into the Excel sheet if you want, or you can copy these hypotheses there. But for now, we are not going to copy the hypothesis. Okay, what theory did they use? Obviously, in order to explain the relationship, they must have used a theory, but it's not necessary that every paper has mentioned their theory. So let's say if they've got any theory. So what we can easily do is press Ctrl F and search the word theory. Okay, now in the present study, it is argued that servant leadership will enhance employees' engagement with their work. The theoretical link between these two constructs can be explained through the lens of social exchange theory. So they have explained the relationship between these variables through social exchange theory. Now, how does this help me as a researcher? Now, for now, I would know that if I am working on servant leadership and employees, one theory that I can use to explain the relationship could be social exchange theory. So I do not have to wander here and there to look for theories, what theories to use. In existing papers, we always have the theories. So we can focus on these theories to help guide our explanation of relationship, or help guide present our theoretical framework. So this is social exchange theory. And what were their independent variable? It was servant leadership as independent variable, life satisfaction as dependent. There were no control variable, but still, if you want to search, let us search. Okay, let's see if there are any control variables. Okay, there weren't any control variables, but for the mediation, they obviously controlled. So no control variables. And what about any mediators or moderators? Yes, there were mediators. There were two mediators in this study, and those were, if we see in the model, work engagement on organizational based self-esteem. So you can copy them. So your mediators were work engagement and organizational based self-esteem. Okay, let's go further. There was no moderator. So what gaps did they address in their paper? So if they addressed very latest gaps, you can use those gaps in identification of your gaps as well, in presenting your introduction as well, in highlighting the need for your study as well. So let's see what gaps did they address. Rather did this person, Mr. Chuftai, addressed, or Dr. Chuftai addressed. Okay, where do we find this? We must find this somewhere in the introduction. And where in the introduction? We find this most probably in second or third or fourth paragraph. So if you skim through this, let's say, if you look at this, however, the role of leader in enhancing employees' life satisfaction has received scant empirical attention. This is somewhat surprising because previous researches have shown that leaders are likely to have a significant effect on their followers' happiness and well-being. So this shows that there is very little research on impact of leadership on life satisfactions. So this is the gap they are addressing. And furthermore, they have highlighted other gaps as well. For now, let's copy one of this, and obviously I would recommend that you copy most of them. and their references as well, and what was their sample size and who were their respondents. So let's go down, and in the methodology you will find their respondents and their sample size and everything. Data for this cross-sectional survey study was collected from large tractor manufacturing companies, so manufacturing sector, employees from manufacturing sector. 200 questionnaires were distributed and 160 usable questionnaires. So sample size 160, which is significantly low. So obviously this is one of the limitations of this study. So employees from manufacturing company. And what were their results? This is easy. You can easily copy the results from the abstract. Okay, results. So you can easily copy them, and this is important because if you keep record of the literature published, and if 2 or 3 papers have tried to establish similar relationship and they found contradicting results, you can use this as a gap, as a limitation of existing research as well, that there is a further need to conduct research in this area because there is no conclusive evidence. Now your limitations and future research directions, and you will find them at the end of the paper. Here it is. Now they've talked about different things, but what we are interested in limitations and future research directions is whether or not they have proposed some new relationships to be addressed. Increasing the sample size, implementing this into maybe a service sector is very small or very, what do you call it, um, a gap that might not give you enough contribution to existing research. So if you want to make a significant contribution, you should obviously try to identify new relationship. Try to have new variables, behaviors that should be studied. Maybe new mediators in this case. So now in this case, the fourth and fifth gap actually focuses on establishing new relationship. So what we do is we just copy this and paste it here for our reference. And this is how you record information pertinent to one single paper or a particular paper that has been published recently. So now once this is done, this is one paper that I've just done. You can do all the papers because all papers will have this information. Now once you have this information, it gives you a clear idea as to what is done, what is available in existing research. So let's see if you've got another paper. Okay, here is another paper. Now similarly you can go for all the information, but let's say we go for limitations and future research direction. So in this paper, if we can see, okay, here are the limitations and future research direction, and this is what we are looking for. Because this is what is actually the existing research asking us to do. This is how we can expand existing research. So based on this information, we can use this existing research to propose our own research. Let us do that now. Let's do this. Let's say let's open a Word document and let us propose a new research based on what is available to us. So what we do is we copy these limitations and future research direction into a Word document. And based on their recommendation, let us build onto a model. Let's first identify a base model maybe, or let's say we are interested in. We are interested in servant leadership. And let's say what existing research is asking us to do. How can we expand on the existing research in servant leadership? Because all these 6 papers are related to servant leadership. So let's do that. Let's make a model from this existing research. And then once you copy this information, this directions from existing research. You can use all this text in writing your own introduction, as we witnessed in a gaps address section by the first paper, that they used existing literature to elaborate on the gaps that they are going to fill, to elaborate on what they are going to do in their research, or why was their research necessary. So we are going to do that as well. So let's build a model first. Let's make a model out of it. Obviously, it's recommended that 6 papers are obviously not good enough. You should read as much as possible, and maybe at graduate level they might be enough, but at postgraduate level, at PhD level, it's always strongly recommended read as much as possible. Okay, now let's say, okay, it's loading. Okay, let's copy the text from the papers. Okay, we copy this text from paper 1 and we put it in MS Word. Okay, loading. Okay, now let's paste the text. Okay, so it's better to arrange it so that it's more readable. This is how it is more readable. Okay, so this is from one paper that we studied on servant leadership and life satisfaction. And let's copy the limitations from another paper. Let's copy this and paste it here. This is from the paper 2. Okay, this is from, it's always a good idea to give the reference. I'm on 2018, and this was from Joftai, and the year was 2017. So let's say, and let's try and get an output from another paper. Okay, okay, this is another paper, and let's see what they have done. Actually, this is my paper. So okay, what we did was, we did the same thing. We had servant leadership, life satisfaction, and career satisfaction. What did we recommend? Okay, this research explored the role of only one mediator. However, future research could expand this study and could take other leadership styles as well and look at their impact on leadership. So let's copy this. Okay, let's use only these uh, recommendations for now. And similarly, you can use different papers to make more recommendations as well. And this was Latif and Claremont 2019. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll use this text to develop our own model. Now the first gap was pertinent to servant leadership and life satisfaction, and they asked for more mediators in this study. This third study also asked for impact of servant leadership on life satisfaction and asked for more mediators in the relationship. So let's say what we do is we take servant leadership as our variable let's say we want to take this research forward that has recommended the impact of servant leadership on life satisfaction. So now we have our two variables ready. So let's have our two variables. For now, I'm not going to go into the detail of the diagram, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in a table. So we go to insert table, and let's say, okay, our independent variable is servant leadership, and our dependent variable is life satisfaction. Okay, and now this paper over here, Chughtai 2017, did not identify any mediators or any other mediators to be taken into account. Oh, sorry, yes, they did. They did career satisfaction, but actually Latif and Merrimon filled that gap, but they have asked for mediators to be studied. Now, Emma, in their study, have asked future research should expand the number of antecedents by including. So, future research should look into the antecedents of servant leadership, such as self-esteem, positive and negative effectivity. Okay, let's say if we add that as well, and we put servant leadership as here, and then self-esteem, servant leadership, and then we can add some more mediators. Okay, now which ones should we select as mediators? Since the mediation or the role of the mediator is to explain the mechanism of impact of IV on DV, how servant leadership is affecting life satisfaction. So a mediator has to be related to both servant leadership and life satisfaction. So any variable that is not related to both cannot serve as a mediator. So in this case, what they have done is the model should be expanded to include other work attitudes like organizational commitment and employee engagement and job involvement. So job involvement can be a significant mediator because the more you are involved in your job, the more you may get a sort of satisfaction from it, life satisfaction from it, that you're doing something good. Or maybe if your life has, there is work life enrichment, so, or there is empowerment at work, or there is commitment. So let's say we take career commitment. So what we have done is we have taken gaps from all these three papers, and then based on these three papers we have proposed our model, in which we are looking at self-esteem as an antecedent to servant leadership, then job involvement and career commitment as mediators between servant leadership and life satisfaction. So this is our model. Now, what we have done is, based on the recommendations from existing study, we have obviously taken in their recommendation and the limitation of existing research, and we have proposed our own model. Now, we can use this text in writing our own introduction. Obviously, this will have to be formatted, structured. For instance, let's say, how can we do it? So we can do it like this. Existing research has called for further investigation into the relationship between servant leadership and life satisfaction. Okay, Chokhtai 2017 has called for inclusion of other or more variables into the linkage between its text is loading now, just hold on, into the linkage between servant leadership and life satisfaction. Furthermore, Latif and Merriman 2019 has called for the inclusion of career commitment as a mediating variable between servant leadership and life satisfaction. Emma 2018 has called for the inclusion of job involvement as an outcome of servant leadership. Now, in simple, obviously this can be further refined, but for the sake of this video, using these gaps from existing literature, this is how you can write your own identification of limitations and the gaps in existing research and present them in your introduction. Obviously, I would recommend that you do a lot of reading in how to present these gaps, but this is how more or less they should be written. I hope this video would have helped you understand the identification of gap, the process of starting a research, looking for the databases and identification of the gaps.